It was an unusually cold winter morning in the small town of Maplewood. The streets were coated with a thin layer of frost, and the air carried the scent of impending snow. On the corner of Elm Street, a little coffee shop named Warm Brews buzzed with activity. Among the usual customers sat Ethan, a man in his early 30s, by the window with his laptop, working diligently. Ethan wasn't anyone extraordinary, at least, that's what he believed. A software engineer by profession, he spent most of his time immersed in lines of code, rarely engaging with the world outside his routine. That morning, however, something unusual happened. As Ethan sipped his coffee and stared at his screen, he noticed a homeless man shivering just outside the cafe. The man had a thin blanket wrapped around him and was trying to warm his hands by blowing into them. Ethan hesitated. He wasn't someone who often extended himself for others, but something about the man's fragile frame and weathered face struck a chord. After a moment's thought, Ethan called the barista over and ordered a hot chocolate and a sandwich. He stepped outside, handed the items to the man, and returned to his seat. "Stay warm," he said softly before walking away. The man's eyes glistened with gratitude as he clutched the warm drink. His name was Harold, a former mechanic who had lost his job and home after a series of unfortunate events. That day, the simple act of kindness rekindled a spark of hope in Harold. With newfound determination, Harold decided to visit the community shelter he had avoided for weeks. There, he met Clara, a social worker who listened to his story with patience and compassion. Clara wasn't new to helping people in Harold's situation, but something about his sincerity moved her deeply. She went the extra mile, helping Harold secure temporary housing and reconnecting him with a local mechanic shop that was hiring. Within weeks, Harold was back on his feet. The ripple effect of Ethan's small gesture had begun. At the mechanic shop, Harold met a young intern named Jake. Jake was a high school dropout, struggling to find direction in life. Harold took Jake under his wing, teaching him the ins and outs of fixing engines while sharing his own story of resilience. Jake looked up to Harold as a mentor. Encouraged by Harold's guidance, Jake decided to pursue a certification course in automotive repair. He worked hard, and within a year, he landed a job at a reputed car dealership in the neighboring city. Jake never forgot Harold's influence on his life. To honor his mentor, he made it a habit to help others whenever he could. One rainy evening, Jake was driving home when he noticed a car stranded on the side of the road. A woman with a young child stood by the vehicle, struggling to fix a flat tire. Jake pulled over without hesitation. The woman, Sarah, was a single mother juggling 2 jobs to make ends meet. That night, Jake not only fixed her tire but also filled up her gas tank, refusing to take any payment. "Pay it forward," he said with a smile. Sarah was deeply moved by Jake's kindness. The next day, she shared the story with her co-workers at the diner where she worked. One of them, a middle-aged man named Tom, had been feeling disillusioned with life. Sarah's story reminded him of the goodness still present in the world. Inspired by Sarah's tale, Tom decided to take action. That evening, he baked a batch of cookies and distributed them to his neighbors, many of whom he had never spoken to before. The simple gesture brought smiles and sparked conversations. One of Tom's neighbors, Mrs. Patel, was a retired teacher who lived alone. Touched by Tom's kindness, she decided to volunteer at the local community center, offering free tutoring to children who struggled in school. Among the children Mrs. Patel tutored was a boy named Liam. Liam was bright but often distracted in class due to challenges at home. With Mrs. Patel's guidance and encouragement, Liam began to excel in his studies. She not only helped him academically but also instilled in him the confidence to dream big. Years later, Liam became a scientist working on renewable energy solutions. His groundbreaking invention of an affordable solar panel revolutionized energy access for low-income communities worldwide. Ethan, now in his 60s, read about Liam's invention in the news one day. He had no idea that the small act of buying a hot chocolate and a sandwich for a homeless man decades ago had set off a chain of events leading to such a monumental impact. As he stared at the article on his screen, Ethan smiled. He realized that even the smallest actions could create ripples, touching lives in ways one could never anticipate. The story of Ethan's kindness, Harold's resilience, Jake's generosity, Sarah's gratitude, Tom's inspiration, Mrs. Patel's dedication, and Liam's achievements showed how one small act could transform the world, one ripple at a time.